Hey everyone, we've got a quick hot take for you today. We're reacting to Joe Rogan episode number 2152 with Terrence Howard. Buckle in.
All right, so I was I call my buddy John, and we were just we were catching up. I was driving to go pick up something from the pharmacy, and he's like, "Oh, you got to listen to this Joe Rogan episode, Terrence Howard." He's like, "It got me thinking because he's like a scientist, and he's like, you got to," and it made me think of you. He's like a chemical engineer. Have you heard this yet? Have you heard about this
I
Terrence Howard
I
episode yet?
saw a snippet. I saw little bits of like people online talking about it, but I haven't listened to it now.
The dude is batshit fucking crazy.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
The dude is out of his fucking mind. He's talking about how he remembers dreams and thoughts in the womb when
Uh-huh.
before he
Yeah.
came out of the chamber. He's like, I remember being birthed. Uh, and then he tries to sound credible and intelligent by citing random, I guess, other insane scientists that are really obscure,
Hmm.
saying he wanted to recreate the periodic table of elements.
Yes, I saw a little bit, a snippet of that, of him going through the periodic table with Joe Rogan. It sounded insane.
Dude, Joe Rogan is like keeping a straight face, and I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, how? So I texted my buddy back, and I'm like, all right. So he's like, cause I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to like maybe 20 minutes of it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. So part of me is like, all right, this guy's either insane or a genius, right? And so you're like, he's that crazy out there, and I'm like, okay, I'm I'm pretty well educated. We're not stupid. I'm a chemical engineer. I studied the periodic table. That was a long time ago, but
Sure.
like I understand it. I know what it means. I know what atoms mean. I know what electrons mean. I know how the periodic table was built, and I know that it's been vetted, and like we use it as a way in which to build off of um, a lot of what we understand in terms of organic chemistry, in terms of
Hmm.
how we combine reactions, how we create minerals, how we create substances. Like it's been validated that the periodic table is real, and we've built like generations of science on top of it that have allowed us to ultimately even discover drugs and cure diseases and illnesses, again fundamentally based off of the periodic table.
Right.
So when somebody is up there trying to say they wanted to recreate the periodic table based off of frequencies and based off of sounds and colors that are emitted by an element, I'm like, okay, maybe. Like, okay, maybe this guy has something, right? Like, we question everything. You're like, okay, but
Sure.
my argument is, what credibility does this guy have to question this stuff? And I don't even understand the point of questioning it other than him saying that all the elements emit a frequency. He's not even really able to define frequency other than saying it's 2 hertz and 4 hertz and 6 hertz and 18 hertz.
Right.
Still doesn't make sense to me. The hertz have colors. Still doesn't. I'm like, okay, I don't know what colors you're talking about. I don't see those colors. Maybe you're operating on a different wavelength. But I just found it very difficult to use the way in which we all, as humans and scientists, have agreed that you make a point, you defend it with logic and reasoning that most people can understand and comprehend. You build your argument, and the people either buy it or destroy and poke holes in it. And then the more people that adopt it, you accept it as a thesis or a theory, and you continue to build off of it. And I think this is like just fundamentally what this whole like question everything shit. Because my buddy texts me back and he's like, yeah, but I love that he's questioning the status quo. And I shot back and I'm like, but what credibility does he have to question the status quo?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it has to be based in something. It can't just be questioning for the sake of questioning. I mean, if you don't have any basis in reality or any kind of background in that, I mean, I can go and question an anthropologist about everything, or I can go question whoever with no knowledge about it, but doesn't mean anything.
No, that's right. And it's like, to your point, it's like, well, I'm going to question that dinosaurs ever existed and the government planted the bones and yada yada yada. Could that be true? Okay, maybe
Sure.
there's a 1, 2, 3% chance. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is something that was fabricated. But then you start putting some logic and reasoning. But the bones were discovered all over the world. That'd be a pretty significant operation for somebody to plant those bones all over the world. Is it possible? Again, yes, it's possible. But I'm going to say it's like less than 1% likely that a group or an organization could pull something like that off and have collusion around the entire world and have agreement all over the world to do this. Like, that's where you have to, like, kind of use some reasoning to say, yeah, you know what? We can question that dinosaurs never existed, but let's not spend a lot of time wasting time on that because a logical, rational human being says that's really unlikely. So we accept that dinosaurs exist. Can we move on now and not spend any more time on this? Can
Right.
we not spend any more time on somebody saying the earth is flat and making a platform off of saying the earth is flat? We fucking know the earth isn't flat, dude. We see it from outer space. We've got lots of signs. We travel, we fly around the world, we sail around the world, we have cruise ships. We know there's no cliff that you fall off on, Kyrie Irving. Like, can we stop? Can we stop
Yeah.
with this shit?
Yeah.
I was set off. The fact that Joe Rogan gave this guy 3 hours also,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that, like, but to him to, like, give, to keep a straight face and give him that platform, okay. I don't know, man. I don't know if it does good
Yeah.
or makes things worse, you know?
I struggle with that also. I mean, there's that saying that sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? Where just let everyone have their say, and it'll everything will come out, and then you can just see the bullshit for the bullshit. But I don't know. I mean, if some young impressionable kid is listening to that and influenced by it and believes it, I mean, it also goes back to education and whether or not uh, are we educating our kids to be able to see the bullshit for the bullshit? But I don't know. It's so tough because yeah, I think I'm a ardent believer in free speech, but at the same time, you see stuff like this, and it's like I don't know. Should this guy get 3 hours on a major platform? On Joe Rogan has millions of listeners, and I don't know. I am very very conflicted about that.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I'm with you. We need free speech. We need information to be out there. I respect Joe Rogan's craft and art to be able to give people a platform that many others may not give a platform to. We should hear them out. The fact that you and I are talking about it, kind of shows you the reach that he has to the public discourse that then ensues about a guy like Terrence Howard. And maybe that's part of his design. Maybe that's part of his art is that we should, question and then debate. And to your point, let it be a disinfectant. I'll say a lot of positive things. All those are positive. The other positive thing I'll say, and it relates to the reason that you and I think, even enjoy and love doing this podcast is because it's a long form content. Like, I love long form content because it allows you to go deep. It allows you to get more information. It forces us to have a little more critical thinking than just 140 character soundbite. So I love all of those aspects of the podcast medium, as well as even Joe Rogan giving Terrence Howard that much time and that much that big of a platform to spend that much time to describe his thought process and his theses. And maybe there are some elements of good that come out of it, but I feel like we should make decisions quicker and move on to more productive, societally beneficial discourse, and not waste too much time trying to find that morsel of value that exists within that content.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with that, but I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that so much. I don't know how do you do that?
So
Like
it really goes back to this whole kind of like death of the expert. Like, it goes back to that where it's like any fucking idiot in the back of a classroom that hasn't paid attention all semester raises his hand and says, "Ah, that's bullshit. That's a government conspiracy." Like, like, it's you again, you haven't paid attention, you haven't put the effort in place, you haven't done the due diligence to question that as a fact. You haven't done the due diligence to question that teacher who spent an entire semester, an entire career learning this material to educate and share with others to further propel advancement of their subject matter. You don't have the right to question it because you haven't put the legwork in and nor earned the credibility to question it. If you're an expert in that field, you're a savant, you know things, you understand how things work, you can make credible arguments. And I think maybe it just goes back to like some of the stuff that we've talked about in the past. What does it mean to make a credible argument? What are the components of a credible argument? How do you ensure that a statement or a position that you take is defensible and credible in the public eye? And maybe some of that we've lost because we've lost journalism. I mean, journalism used to be the litmus test to say, this is the facts. This is an objective way in which we're presenting this information, and we're going to leave it up to you, the audience, to decide how to interpret it and how you feel about it. We're not going to tell you how to feel about it. We're just going to present you the information. And we don't do that anymore. All of our news stations, all of the media is all about telling you how to think and how to feel based off of their interpretation of the facts, as opposed to presenting objective material for you to make your own decisions off of. And I feel like that's given rise to this whole movement of, yeah, I don't think that's right, or that doesn't make sense to me, so I'm just going to question it and make myself feel good. It's like a lazy position, you know? I think it's just like a position of convenience, and it's lazy.
Yeah, I think there has to be a limit to how much we allow people to, control public discourse on it, right? If they don't have no credibility, or, if they have no kind of basis of knowledge for that subject matter. And maybe that goes back to just educating ourselves better, or educating our children better on detecting that, right? Where, okay, fine, everyone can have a voice, and free speech and all that. But if we're educated, then if we're educated on how to think, then we can detect the bullshit better as a society.
Yeah, agreed. And maybe that's what's missing. I mean, listen, there's everything that we're talking about. There's also another piece where people do suffer mental illnesses. And I
Mm,
mean, he may have a mental illness where he truly believes
yeah,
all of this. It's very
right.
possible. In fact, it's probably likely. And
Yep.
so you're like, okay, great. Like maybe we need to give people that have a mental disorder a platform, share their thoughts, make them feel better, all good. And again, maybe there's something good that will come out of it. Maybe. But again, I think we should not spend as we've
Maybe
spent
not give them
how
3 hours
yeah, maybe
on
not give them
on a
3 hours and
podcast.
then yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
and
just a lot.
I know it's dangerous to diagnose from a distance, and we're not experts in mental health or anything like that. But and you can go back to the Kanye West podcast episode also. I mean, Joe Rogan gave him time. Even someone like Lex Friedman gave him time, and I would argue Lex Friedman did a much better job of kind of pushing back on his bullshit. But I mean, you can't listen to that and not think that there's some mental illness involved, right? Like it just, or he's just a world class troll. I mean, that those are only two explanations
Yeah.
for what you, if you listen to that, for what you listen to. The only explanations are those two.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And that would be to your point like pretty world class if you can kind of have that strategic like approach to researching and like really believing it and like convincing yourself to the point that you can remember what it was like to be in a womb. Like it again, can you believe we're in a world where even I am like, okay, maybe there is something to this. Like I feel like we owe it to the whole kind of question everything approach to say, okay, maybe this guy really did experience that, or at a minimum, he truly believes that, and is getting a platform for himself and getting folks like us to talk about it and getting exposure for his brand out on Joe Rogan.
Hmm.
And maybe that's, like you said, a world class troll that he's, that plan that he's executing on to troll us. I think the more likely explanation is he's just, he really does believe it. He comes across as credible and truly believes it. I don't think he's trying to be malicious. I think he just has these thoughts and he believes them. And I think it goes against science and it does make us question things, but I don't think it's productive. I don't think there's anything productive that's coming out of anything that he shared. Like, I don't know what good is coming out of giving this guy a platform. I don't know what he's progressing. I don't know if there's a new line of science that he thinks he's going to create, but like, he didn't
Hmm.
present credible arguments. When he makes statements of, like, one of the first things that he was saying was the proof of how I could hear, the proof of how I had thoughts in the womb was when I had my first kid. I shined a flashlight in my wife's belly for a week and played music, and my kid in the womb would kick and feel the light and the sound. And then when the light wasn't there after a week, he still kicked in that same spot when I played that music. Or he would follow the flashlight. Okay, that doesn't correlate with any memory. That doesn't correlate with a
Right.
brain development. Like that's that's what I mean. It's a watery argument. That's not a credible argument. So that's when you lose credibility, at least to me, when you try to make claims that don't follow normal reasoning to say, if this, then that. No. If somebody in the womb is following a light, that doesn't mean they have memories and knew how to solve and recreate the periodic table while they were in the womb. Like, it to me sounds like an insane person.
Well, and that's just, what he's describing could just be a baby reacting to stimulus, which is that could be, that's totally normal, but that doesn't correlate to the other stuff he's talking about with memories. And I don't even know how the periodic table comes into that, but we'll just leave that out of it.
Dude. Wow, man. It was so insane that it really made me, like, that it was so out there. It really made me question whether this guy is truly a genius operating on a different wavelength. Like, that's the level of crazy this episode
Right.
was. And I listen, I give Rogan credit for having us talk about it. And it is a fine line between genius and insanity. But, if you look at Einstein and you consider him a crazy genius, like, he progressed science. Like, he
Yeah.
gave us the definition of speed of light. He helped us build the science that eventually led to, I mean, again, another, morally questionable decision, but that led to the atomic bomb, right? And and
Right.
and weapons of mass destruction. Like, that was
But I
so,
mean, but also the basis of space travel and everything we built at the space program. I mean that
yeah.
the general relativity and specific relativity, like it's all the basis of of our space program, right?
Very true. Yeah. The whole space-time continuum and the theory of
Hmm.
relativity. Yes, all of that. Agreed. Yes, it made us look at the world differently, for sure.
Yeah.
Fundamentally different view, and created its own branch of science that we then further progressed because you formulated theories and you formulated arguments in a credible, logical way that the
Right.
average human can follow.
And
Like,
backs it up with formulas and
yes,
actual science with work. So
exactly.
I think if he were to then go on and back it up, then sure, like like go take it to a scientific conference and have it tested and have it peer reviewed, and if it holds up, then great, maybe he is a genius, right? But until that happens, I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Like take it to a chemistry conference. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. 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 And that's why the scientific process works, right? Because it's other experts um, reviewing your work, challenging it, poking holes in your ideas, and
Right.
then, doing what we just did in a more sort of, you know, public discourse, whereas that other forums, like you were saying at conferences, will be your peers. It'll be other scientists that have spent lifetimes or, like a career, thinking about this and experimenting and tinkering and defending and coming up with ideas and progressing thought in a more productive way, I'll call it. And maybe his way is productive, but until other scientists tell me that what he's saying makes sense, it doesn't make sense to me as a layman. And even somebody that studied
Yeah.
chemistry, it still doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, I
So,
mean, you do have credibility. I mean, you did study it.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
I don't. So, maybe me questioning is bullshit, but you do. And just as a side note, this reminds me of an anecdote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, when he was describing, or I forget what the argument, he was just arguing with someone about the fact that 90 something percent of scientists agree on climate change or something like that. He said, yeah, but if you want to see people fighting, go to a scientific conference. They will fight over the most minute of, details of their theories. And, like, so his point was that there is so much argument and peer review and kind of conflict in science itself, but in a good way. Like they're constantly questioning each other and testing each other's data to make sure that what they're doing is right. So I think that, and that's for a reason, and that's why we should have some faith in science.
And maybe it's as simple as, if you want to question everything, do it in a productive way. Progress the argument. Don't just question everything to be an asshole. Don't just question everything to make
Right.
yourself sound smart or credible or troll people or to kind of build a brand and just to be provocative. Like, fuck you, you know? Like, that's useless, selfish, and doesn't really help anybody except yourself. Like, seriously, that's bullshit. If you
Yeah.
want to really question everything, do it in a productive way, like what they do in science. We've all accepted that. I will respect it. And I think, to your point and to Neil deGrasse Tyson's anecdote, like, yes, that's all conflict in a positive way to progress a conversation. And it goes back to some of the earlier conversations. If we're going to question that the sky's definition, like that we're going to redefine the sky as blue and we're going to call it red now and turn the world on its face because, we should question everything. Like, is that really productive? Like, what are we going to get out of that? Nothing. It's just a waste of time. It's not going to advance anything, right? And so, at least when you have conflict that advances in a productive way, that should be the litmus test. Like, if you want to question everything, great, question it in a productive way, not just to be provocative and contrary and all that.
And just to end on a lighter note, this reminds me of I don't know if you're a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or if you've watched it at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, I've watched it.
But
Yep.
there's an episode, I just looked it up, season 8, episode 10. It's called Reynolds versus Reynolds, the serial defense. It's the last episode of season 8. And it's where they're having an argument or they're having an actual trial about evolution versus creationism. And Mac, who's in the show, is a Christian and a conservative. It's a parody, so it's just a funny send up of debate between two groups of people who have no kind of basis in science. So even though the group that believes in evolution is right, they just argue back and forth, and it is the most funny episode. I highly recommend everyone to go watch it. It is hilarious.
That's great. That's great. That's worthwhile, and maybe it's a like microcosm of the debates that happen in Twitter when people
Yeah, exactly
just
right. I think that's what it's meant to be. Like just people talking about stuff they have no, idea what they're arguing really, but they just know what side they're on and they just argue bullshit.
yeah, exactly. It's a parody of social media, which is awesome. That's good. Well, I don't know, man. I know we weren't like really recording an episode. If we end up setting this one out, like, and folks have watched the Terrence Howard podcast on Joe Rogan, like, let us know what you think. I mean,
Yeah.
you clearly hear what Chirag and I think, and would love to hear what others think, and if you think we're crazy and we should do more of these, have more of an open mind when we have, kind of, folks that are against the grain or unconventional. I don't know. Hit us up. Tell us your point. Tell us how you would handle it, and tell us why you think we're wrong. And happy to listen and happy to keep the conversation going.
All right, that's the pod. Great discussion as always. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to join the conversation, email us at questioneverythingexcept@gmail.com. See you next time.